Broadcasting, National Broadcasting Commission to Channel TV. It just happens to be channels. It could be anyone. It's been others as well. But this, for me, is the first time I've actually seen an example of the kind of query that the media is getting. Yeah, just take one or two examples. Here's it's titled Notice of Infraction. And section, the broadcaster shall ensure that its presenter shall handle with professionalism and sound judgment to ensure, etc., etc. Professionalism, sound judgment, who decides that? Is a National Broadcasting Commission a mass communication forum? You know, is it judging people's papers? Is it setting examination? Says you haven't shown sound judgment. I mean, who's the impartial arbiter? Who's the expert who decides things like that? And so on and so forth. I mean, this is one of the most astounding, semi-literate kind of official query letter I've ever seen. And I wish to exhort the media, whenever they get letters like this. I know you have problems. You have your commission, you have your board of trustees, they tell you what to do and so on. But wherever possible, if only symbolically, you know, please just throw it into the garbage pan, whatever you are. The first is the issue of the government role in one of the agitators, towards one of the agitators, who is now against Fulani tyranny, Fulani herdsmen, criminal conduct, and only, by the way, also agitating for sectional national sovereignty. I'm talking about Igboho, who threw out a criminal Fulani herdsman who'd been terrorizing his neighborhood, because that's his real crime. I refuse to accept that Igboho is being chased because he peacefully demonstrated his position vis-a-vis the destiny of this nation, which is a fundamental human right of anybody. So somebody calls for secession, calls for a separate state. I don't consider that, and nowhere is that to be declared a criminal act. That's one's vision of one's own society, full stop. As long as it's done peacefully, collectively, within the law, you do not now criminalize that action. And in addition, commit criminal acts against such an individual, which is what the government, the security services did by raiding Igboho's home in the middle of the night, 2 a.m., killing 2 of his own people, then claiming, you know, without a warrant or anything, then claiming they found weapons in his home. Now, who's going to believe that cock and bull story? And this is an appeal actually to the Republic of Benin, to the government of the Republic of Benin. Why are you keeping this victim in your prisons? I mean, what's going on? What crime did he commit against your state that you are holding him in prison instead of just letting him continue his journey? Igboho has not committed any crime against any known law in this nation. And so to ask for his repatriation is just adding insult to injury. You invaded the man's house, destroyed his property, chased him into the wilderness, and then you pursue him next door. So we're asking the government of the Republic of Benin to release this young man and let him go about his business, which was interrupted unjustly. Unjustly. Please rectify this error. Don't compound it any further by holding Sunday Igboho in prison one day longer. Now, I brought out a novel recently, which all of you are aware of, Chronicles from the Land of the Happiest People in the World, which of course was intended to be an ironic title, because whoever conducted that Gallup poll or whatever it was and decided that Nigeria was among the top 5 happiest people in the world, which is where the inspiration for the title of that work came. I think that person really should just go back to School of Statistics, wherever he or she came from. But you know, I've been wondering if that title shouldn't be taken literally. I've been wondering ever since. A wedding took place recently here. I thought the nation was in mourning, you see. In mourning because of the killings, daily killings which now have become a feature of existence, destruction of farms, but most importantly, the kidnapping of our children whom we send to school. School pupils has become the new normal of this society. And I wonder whether, as a people who consider ourselves responsible human beings, we really are going to sit down and look on while this becomes the norm. I'm coming back to that theme in a moment, vis-a-vis the children, those whom we're supposed to protect. Right now, I want to talk about happiness. So there it is. You have this unbelievable carnival of a wedding in Kano, that part of the area. It was Kano, wasn't it? Yes, it was Kano. Doesn't matter where it is. The president's daughter was getting married. Was it his son or his Mary or what? Son. Oh, son. No, yeah, son. All I know is that the president was performing a wedding ceremony. Not in Aso Rock, he didn't go there. But I think the journalists, you know how many private jets were there. All I saw, didn't matter the details, was that a carnival was going on in the name of the president of this nation, whose child was getting married, while other youths, other people were being kidnapped. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying presidents' children shouldn't get married. On the contrary. In fact, I not only want them to get married, I want them blessed with children, prosperity, etc., etc. I also want, however, I would like to see that they are not burdened with a kind of surrogate, vicarious sense of irresponsibility. They deserve to start life without any burden of social guilt. So, in some way, I'm also on the president's side. But you see, I had made the mistake of thinking that it would have been sufficient to give these children money and say, please go and go to Dubai, have a good time, have your honeymoon there, splurge as much as you want. Right now, as a leader of this nation, with a heavy burden of unacquitted responsibility, which involves the future of a younger generation, I should set an example of some kind of modesty, sensibility, etc., etc. In short, we should not have seen the kind of carnival that took place here and in that part of the nation, especially at this particular time. This is not what I understand as leadership. And perhaps it is the sound, is the noise of the wedding bells, the noise that has contributed to the deafening to the, shall we say, the impairment, the possible impairment of the hearing of the president of this nation. Because he doesn't seem to hear, he doesn't seem to hear things. Virtually the whole nation is screaming, we do not want any open cattle grazing. Whether they go by the name of cattle routes or reserves, grazing reserves, right round the entire nation, we've had opinions surmounting the antiquated modes of cattle rearing. Even the all-powerful, untouchable Mieti Allah, patrons of the murderers, Fulani herdsmen, even they have gone on record saying that grazing, I beg your pardon, ranching is it. Ranching is what we want. And when we think all that argument, all that discussion, all that debate has been settled in rational terms, along comes a new version, rather like Decree 4. Along comes a new version of Ruga, with the president insisting on sending his agents out to go and map out the old grazing routes and recover the old grazing reserves, when governors and peoples and experts, agronomists, business people are saying, this is a business and it should be conducted in this particular way. So what is this president obsessing? Why is he obsessing about something which is being rejected right, left, and center? The obsession is on such a level that even people who consider themselves rational, like myself, begin to wonder whether this is really all about cattle. Whether perhaps there is some other kind of agenda that we don't know about. Because as we say in Yoruba, it's like there's something, a kind of delusion, a kind of mental delusion about this thing. What is it? The governors have not said they don't want cattle here in their domain. All they're saying is, it's a business. If you want to rear cattle, whether you're a Fulani or you are an Igbo or you are Yoruba, just contact us and we'll deal with it as business. We'll allocate you land to ranch where the cattle are controlled and the farmers are happy and the herdsmen are happy. But you cannot let loose cattle any longer in our territory. This is what the governors are saying, and they're speaking our language. They're speaking the language, they're articulating the opinion, the desire of the people who elected them to look after their interests. And yet, again and again, this president comes out and says he's sending people out. Is this to stir up trouble or what? So when the president agents come to, let us say, Edo State, and the Edo State government says, who are you? What do you represent? What are you doing here? Please get out. And there's a clash. So now there's a clash. We can then escalate the ripple effect in all kinds of directions. Is that how a president is supposed to behave? To actually act in a way which offers violence as a consequence of your form of action? Is that really governance? Is that leadership? Listen, let me read you something which came to me, just to show you how, no, it's okay. I'll summarize it. I can send it to you, to your boxes later on if you like. Anyway, so I got this, this message saying, sir, what do you think about this? They say President Buhari has offered to take 1 million Afghan refugees. I immediately sent, before I'm charged with spreading fake news, I immediately sent a note back, I don't believe it. I said, listen, this is fake news. I merely cite it to demonstrate, to illustrate what happens when people sit down and see a cause of irrational action being promoted, being propagated again and again. They begin to wonder what is behind this. I mean, the Afghan thing is out of the, everybody just forget. In any case, the Ruga doctrine didn't start when Afghanistan fell. So it was an absurd, totally absurd piece of propaganda. But this is what happens. Conspiracy theory abounds when leadership is seen to be pursuing a cause not in the interest of the people, against their declared wishes, their stance, and taking action which can possibly lead to conflagration within the country. Just when we're seeing there's so much violence, the president says, I'm sending my agents to go and recover property which doesn't belong to me. Very weird, very weird. So let's move on from this obsession, which I insist is a no-go area, just as the governors have stated. I'll move on to the issue of violence. But violence of a very special kind. Some people call it insecurity, violence, whatever it is anyway. We're living in a permanent state of violence. But there's a difference with this particular kind of violence, and it's a difference which makes the failure of governance in this nation a responsibility of the international community. All right, so up till now we've been saying, ask for help. This thing is beyond you. The failures started a long time ago, so nobody is saying it's you who started it. But of course, your incompetence failure has also escalated it, like every other leader we've had. But we're saying, ask for international help. We're now saying, however, that it's been proved beyond your capacity, your capability. But in addition, it's an issue which can legally be taken as an international responsibility. And this is why I wish to commend the association, or the Human Rights Association, which brought out this book. Because it states, it deals not merely, in great detail with the victims of violence, where, when, including names, family, etc., tabulate villages, the hectares which are being lost, the arbitrary disposal of humanity. But it goes further and says and proves that this, what is happening now, really is not a question of begging. It has become an international responsibility. In other words, that the international community is really obliged to take action since there is failure on the part of the governance to fulfill its obligations under United Nations Charter, to which it's a signatory. In this case, the issue of genocide. In other words, what this book says, and I agree with it, is that we have been living here side by side with actions which are unambiguous